Like, so.
Oh, did you actually live in?
No, I work in this.
Oh.
So.
Either way.
I live in the valley. I live in North.
Hey, I live in Lake Balboa.
You're close to me.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I got some tea, I got some caffeine. And I did it. I don't mind.
Oh, I saw something looking to our virtual event, so I didn't know that. I could have stayed home and not had a place. That's. You can't. You gotta get with the people, press their flesh, you know? Yeah, I've got I'm doing a Zoom group tomorrow night but it's a bunch of guys and it's very specific and it's only an hour.
All right, guys, welcome. My name is Steve Mastry and welcome to our virtual ITI meeting, right? Hi. Actually, it is not virtual. We are here in live.
I was gonna say, I'm not really here, Steve.
But we do have a virtual going on, by the way. So I'm gonna flip through these a little bit and we're good, right?
Yeah, we're good. No attendees yet.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, good. And here we go. Okay, good. Yeah, here I am. Okay.
There he is.
So first of all, I just want to acknowledge everyone that is here. Why don't we just welcome ourselves, right? Let's give us a big hand. All right, come on. So we have people here tonight from everywhere, by the way. I've met some people here. We have actually a lot of new people. Who's new here, please? Wow, that's wonderful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And who else? And we have 8. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, let's give them a big hand. Welcome to Big Hand. Thank you, guys. So who came from farthest? Who's here from far away?
Pasadena.
That was good. Glendora. Okay, who else? Who's farther than Glendora? All right, there you go. Okay, who else? Who's farther?
Claremont. He's the
Claremont, there we go. Camarillo, exactly. Big Bear. Big Bear, there we go. We got our single one, Big Bear.
You live in Pasadena.
All right. So I just want to welcome all of you guys, by the way, because I know really what it takes to get here. And I know, fighting the traffic myself, Anand and I came earlier today. We left at 2 o'clock. We got here at 4 o'clock. It was literally 2 hours to drive to get here. So I just wanted to say thank you for all being here. We still have people coming in slowly. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and then kind of give you an idea how the evenings kind of go. Okay. To start with, a little bit about myself. Me and my family, we're actually out-of-state investors, and we specialize in single and multifamily homes. And I have only one single home, thank God. The rest of them are multi. I can say that for that matter. And I've been doing this for about 40 years, and I have been very successful at it. I actually have a couple other businesses that I run. And I have a design business. Actually, that's where I come from in the background. I also have lots of construction background. So, that's my strength. And we've been specializing in a lot of our design business over years. But in the last 4 or 5 years, actually, one of my son is here tonight as well. Somewhere he's hiding. Oh, there he is. And so he and his sister actually, they were going to go to college. I said, "You're not going to college. You're going to college is the last thing you're going to do. You're either going to work for yourself or you're going to work for yourself. So choose one." So they ended up really, they're very, very successful now. They started the business my daughter started actually when she came out of high school. But then they really got started about 5 or 6 years ago. And I told them, okay, it's my turn now, you guys. You got to take care of me. And so they're in the wholesale business. And my son came to me and said, "Dad, would you be interested in buying this and that?" I said, "Okay, sounds good." So it's been very, very wonderful. And we just, in fact, bought another building a couple of days ago, last week, and we're almost done with it, for God's sake. Within a 1 month period, we're going to turn it around and we're going to, get it back out in the market or rent it out, whatever. So it's been really wonderful. And inside of business-wise, inside of doing what we do as far as real estate, but my personal goal is to really inspire and motivate people to get to where they want to go. And so therefore, that's what I actually came in with Bronson and Christina, because I felt that Christina is not here, by the way, tonight. You guys, you noticed there's somebody missing. Christina is definitely being missed. And she is having a good time, don't worry. She's, last I talked to her, she was in the water,
Yeah.
in the pool, with the tequila in her hand. No.
You know, it was wine, not.
Yeah.
But she's doing great. She sent her love, by the way. And so we got together and we said, okay, why don't we do something really bigger that can really make a difference in the community? And we decided to go ahead and create ITI. And ITI, as some of you may already know, it is a sister company to Phoebe, which is for investors by investors. But this is investor to investor. And our mission, by the way, inside of that is to, let me see here. By the way, if you guys want to connect with me, that's my contact information. And so here it is, ITI vision and mission statement. So we came up with this really as our vision, and we are continuing to hone in on this. As you guys know, all successful businesses must have a vision and a mission statement. Otherwise, you get lost. You can go down this path, before you know, you end up on another road. And then before you know, you're doing this and you're doing that. So having a vision and having a mission statement will really ground you up. You know, we come into our meetings and usually we're all coming from different places. Like, what are we doing next? What we got to do is just go back and look at what we're supposed to, what we're up to. So inside of ITI, our vision is to become a recognized brand name for transformation through real estate and real estate education and networking. Okay, and that's really what we are doing. We're transforming people's life. So this event here is all about really finding a way that you guys can really walk away with some transformation. And transformation, what that would look like, would be that you're inspired by somebody else doing something. Okay, so tonight you will have the opportunity to really not only get educated from wonderful people that we have here, but also you'll have an opportunity to really network and just be able to see what you see in someone else that you can maybe, shadow, or you're inspired by somebody that's doing it, and just really take that on. That's kind of what we're committed to, right? And our mission is aim to grow. You guys can see we're saying we're aiming to grow. So we're always going to continue to grow. We're always going to continue to grow. So we're aiming to grow and transform the quality of a participant's life by providing education and networking opportunity among like-minded people. The Meetup happens to be one of those vehicles that we are doing. Okay, we're also have classes, by the way, for those of you guys who are interested. We do now offer certain courses inside of real estate. We have one time, actually, we just finished 2 of them, which was Real Estate 101, Real Estate 102, and we're doing Real Estate number 3. And that's just like, it's an entire curriculum we finished. But the next one that we've got coming up, which is really amazing, is actually capital raising. And what's so great about that, Bronson's going to be teaching it. And on that particular one, by the way, it's virtual. So you're definitely having a great opportunity to participate. And as you guys probably know, Bronson, he's very, very successful in doing what he's doing. So definitely I invite you to go ahead and do that. And that's kind of one of the ways that we're, aiming to continue to grow by bringing more education to you guys. And what else? Let's see here. I said that. Okay, perfect. So what this evening is all about. So this evening is that, community is growing, and, again, welcome new participants that, continue to come into our meeting. And we have a lot of people that come back again. So why don't we acknowledge those people that come back again, right? Let's do it. Yeah. How many of you guys have been here for since we started it? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, a lot of people here. So you guys can see we have a lot of wonderful people. And, we're hoping that our community continues to grow in that sense, right? Now, the great news is that, we were at an event last week. We went to Orange County. In fact, that's where we live. And we live in Orange County. And we got invited to an event, and we went over there. And guess what was missing? ITI. Everything else was there but ITI. So we really promised that we are going to actually start up something in Orange County. And those guys are just phenomenal. They're a bunch of wonderful investors, just like yourself, people that really are looking to network and grow with other people. And so inside of that, we have invited Jimmy to take on the next. Jimmy's going to be our next ITI leader. In fact, he's going to be co-hosting with Bronson, and I'm gonna introduce him when they come up in just a minute. But he's actually been the brave one to be able to take that on and start his own ITI event in Diamond Bar. So for those of you guys who are from Glendora and so on, I would request you guys support him. We're gonna be there. If you guys, want to bring friends and so on, he's gonna have the same setup set up. He's gonna have the same banner in the background. He's gonna have speakers out there, and we're gonna want to support him. So that's just to kind of, take you in and show you how we're growing, right? Now, the next meeting we have is on May 1st. Okay, and we do have speaker is John Willis. Is it John Willis?
May 1st, we have Andrew Westling.
Andrew Wesley, yeah, exactly. Andrew Wesley coming.
Yeah,
And
great.
yeah, great. And great guy. And definitely you're gonna have an opportunity, by the way, to go ahead and register for that. As, you guys be getting the emails and so on. And I talked to you guys about the event as far as classes. Our class that's happening next is on the 20th of this month. If we do not have a code for that, but if anybody is interested in participating in that course, please come and see me. And I can gladly accommodate you with certain discounts since you're here this evening to go ahead and do that, right? And our speaker tonight is actually Chad. Some of you guys probably know Chad. I happen to know him very much, and he's one of my dearest friends, and he's one of my really gurus as well, I'll say. I'm just so inspired by Chad. So let's give him a big hand. Let's have you guys come up.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Thank you. So Steve is like Mr. Transformations. If you spend time around Steve, your life starts to change a little bit. How many of you guys fought some challenges to get here today? We fight traffic, a tough day at work, family stuff, kid stuff, whatever. Well, I had all of the above, and I came from Big Bear from a family trip just to be here for this meeting. I went to my house, took a shower, took a cold plunge, and then came straight here. And then I'm going back tomorrow morning just to be here at this meeting because I believe in what happens here. And this is not just a meeting. It's not just people gathering together. And I don't want to get woo-woo about it. And because you can come to meetings like this and it doesn't change your life. Like being in the room doesn't change your life. But when you make a commitment to say, I want to change my life, your life can begin to change. You may have experienced that before. You made a decision and then something started to change. You didn't quite know how it was going to happen, but it started to change. So I came to these meetings for 6 years and nothing changed. I didn't take any action. If you don't take any action, will your life change at all? No, it won't. But it happened when I said, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to apply myself. I'm going to do these courses. I'm going to start looking at properties. I'm going to actually take actions every day or every week. My life began to change. And then when I was able to quit my job, replacing my living expenses with passive or investment income, that was transformational, right? And so for each of you, that's our hope. That's why this meeting was created. It wasn't created so we could just have a bunch of people in a room and say we're great. It was so that we could provide a place where people could change their lives through two things, which create transformation. They're networking and education. It's been said you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? If I look at your health habits or your wealth habits or the way you live your life, your relationships, the people you spend time with, they impact you, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
If you want to get to the next level, what do you have to do?
Dump your friends.
Nice job. It's like the Dr. Phil of our. Maybe not so much, not in a nice way. Say, hey, thank you. But you need to get in a new room. You get in a room with people that are saying, I want to change my life. How many of you would like to transform your life this year? How many? Awesome. Yeah. How many have goals this year? How many things, that are beyond where you were last year, right? I believe that you can change your life simply by changing who you're around and by making a commitment about what you want. When I made the decision, I want to leave my job in 3 years. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I thought maybe real estate, maybe somehow, but I was able to do it. So I want to introduce, I'm going to introduce myself here real quick. I'm going to give this over to Jim, who's leading with me for the first time, which I'm really excited about. So this is a little bit of my background. We have over 200 million in multifamily assets, raised about $40 million. Have some educational platforms, and we do a lot of alternative stuff, ATM machines, car washes, and other things as well. If I can be a resource to you in that, if you're interested, how many of you are interested in raising money? They said it's selfish to only use your own money, right? So you got to raise other people's money, right, to be able to do it. So you can help other people to get in on your deals as well. So that's a little bit about me, and then Jimmy, so I'm shining the light on you, Jimmy. There.
The laser.
That's Jimmy right there. See, I got Jimmy. Okay, so Jimmy, why don't you say hello and
Sure.
introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. For those that haven't met me yet, my name is Jim, and I've been an ITI volunteer for almost a year now. I'm an immigrant from Taiwan, and I face, like any immigrants, I face challenges, language barrier, culture shock. But I went against the norm of working on a W-2 job and decided to pursue path of wealth as a real estate investor and syndicator. So now, on my path to greatness, I met Chad. I'm super excited for today's meeting because Chad is the one who invited me to my very first Phoebe Pasadena event about a year ago. And I was sitting in your chair, eager to learn how I can achieve freedom and the lifestyle that comes with money, not just money. I also learned that, there a lot about entrepreneurship, partnerships, and I'm here to share some insight with you guys of everything I've gathered. Just by what I've learned in life by surrounding myself with like-minded people such as Chad. So I'm super stoked to interview him today and help you guys learn a little about the partnerships that we have.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. How many of you guys like reading books? I encourage everybody to read books. Who thinks they read the most books last year? No, I'm boasting. I read a lot of books. Okay, so this one is who loves networking? Anybody love networking? So great networking is not going to a meeting and giving a bunch of people your card or shaking hands. It's when you're talking with someone, thinking about what does this person need and how can I help them? Because people will be loyal to you and they'll want to help you back. There's something called reciprocity, which is if you help somebody in a small way, we feel obligated that somehow we have to be able to pay this person back. Even if it's just speaking well about them or doing something small for them, or be something much larger. So this is called What's in It for Them. This is a guide to networking by Joe Polish, awesome marketing guy. Anybody want this book? Yeah, first thing I saw right here. There you go. And there's other ones, Fire Yourself. Anybody not read this? Is a book I wrote about how to replace your working income. You guys are super eager here. I love it. How to replace your, you're ready to fire yourself. But I wrote this book about how to replace your working income with passive income in 3 years or less. So especially if you're a high earner, how do I start investing in real estate, actively, passively, just different strategies for tax, things like that. So who would like this? Okay, I saw you over here. It's also on Audible and Amazon as well. So, okay, I'm gonna introduce Chad on that note, and then we're gonna get started here. How many of you guys are you getting excited about this tonight? Are you excited? Yeah. We gotta do a hype here for Chad here or something. So Chad, not only does he have great hair, this kind of an ugly hair. He's got a great hair thing going on, so I'm a little jealous, but I've got other gifts. So he's, I'll just read this briefly. He's a multifaceted professional. He's got a very long bio here. Diverse career that spans several industries. Initially, he contributed to the space shuttle main engines as a rocket scientist. So he literally is a rocket scientist. He's a general contractor. He's a professional engineer. He has 3 master's degrees. He's actually also a DJ. So if you need to hire a DJ, can you do that while you're providing like rocket scientists? So he's the CEO of a company. We're going to talk about that a bit. He's made a substantial impact in the real estate sector, raised a bunch of money. He's done both active, where he's managed properties himself locally. He's also raised a lot of money for stuff outside of California and Florida and other areas. And so he's just a great guy. We kind of joke, we used to go to a lot of conferences together, so we'd be roomies. So we spent a lot of time hanging out. And I got some stories about him, let me tell you. I'm just kidding. Let's give him a big hand as he comes up. We'll have you sit right here, brother. Sit right here.
I'm all excited for this.
Yeah, brother.
And Bronson, go way back with these guys.
All right, so let's pull up a little bit more here just so we get a little closer. You guys are okay? Make sure you're not looking at our back. Just like to be close to everybody. All right, Chad. Well, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I know there's a lot we can talk about. You also, a lot of people don't know this. Chad is actually a TV host as well. and he hosted a National Geographic show where he flew all around the world. And he it was called Inside Mighty Machines. And so he, it's aircraft carriers, all kinds of different, big machinery, and he would talk about how it worked. And so if you ever want to go, that's still on National Geographic?
Yeah,
Find that,
it's
right?
streaming. I think it's on Paramount Plus now and Amazon.
So why don't you talk to us a little bit about, obviously you've done a lot of things, and now you're obviously doing a lot of real estate, and we're going to talk about partnerships, but I want to get into your story a little bit. So not everybody says, hey, I'm going to become a rocket scientist. Just that's like a first thing. And then it says, I'm going to be a DJ, and I'm going to do real estate. I'm going to get 3 master's degrees. Talk to us a little bit about your journey, because sometimes we can look at it on the paper, it seems like, wow, you just kind of short attention span, but like, how did you do all these things?
Yeah, so it has been a journey for sure. Actually wrote a chapter in a book about it, which I think we'll talk about at the end, but called The Transformational Journey. But I've kind of had my life in 3 different segments, and they've all brought value in different ways. So I worked for Rocketdyne here in the Valley on the space shuttle main engines, a structural dynamics engineer. And I called myself the cubicle jockey. I worked from 7 to 4, 5 days a week. And for all the millennials or Gen Zers out there, I had a 7:15 a.m. meeting every morning. So I had to be in at 7, they said, oh, if you're a little bit late, it's okay. We don't start the meeting till 7:15. So 5 days a week, I had that meeting. None of this remote stuff or anything like that. But what I learned being a cubicle jockey is I had very steady income, but I had no flexibility in my time, right? So, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've founded or helped found 8 different companies now. Just started the last one, which is not real estate, 7 months ago. So I'm an entrepreneur, and that's what brought me out of Rocketdyne. And I went and started a business with my brother doing lighting, and we ran that for 17 years. Grew it from just me, him, and a couple workers to 75 employees. And what I learned there, and I'm sure some of you know this, is like, why would I want to work 40 hours for someone else when I can work 80 for myself, right? So I was working a ton. I had flexibility, like I could take a day off, but I had to work a lot and a lot of hours. You can ask me questions about that afterwards, but stupid hours. I had flexibility, but put in a lot of time. So then I sold the business in 2018. And I'm thinking I took 6 months to figure out what I wanted to do. I hired a coach to kind of help me figure out this next path of my life. And real estate was it. And I did have the general construction background. I was in construction and that's that type of world for real estate, which was really helpful for real estate investing I do now. But the thing that triggered for me, and I know it does for a lot of us, is the whole idea of freedom through passive income. And that's really why I settled in on real estate. That's, what I wanted to be my final last chapter in terms of different things that I do. And it's been great. Right now it's tough. I think we're going to probably talk about some of that tonight. But at the end of the day, real estate can provide passive income that few other industries or careers can provide. And so that's what I do now.
That's awesome. So I think a lot of us can relate with that how many of you are entrepreneurs here or have started a business before? Can you relate with that? You said working 40 hours for someone else or working for yourself, and it's never done, right? Even if you have a corporate job, it's never done. And the idea of passive income or investment income is that you have an asset, and as it appreciates or as it grows, the money works for you, right? So the idea of, Warren Buffett says, unless you learn to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. And so that's obviously at some point, we all get it when we get it. We've met kids like the Adonis brothers that are 20 years old and they get like, I'm going to do this now. And you're like, why didn't I get that when I was 20? But you got it when you got it. So what's the latest business that you started? I'm curious.
So real estate's been, the syndication world's been slow for me. I'm still operating my deals, which takes a fair amount of time, but the transactions are down, right? I think for most of us.
85%.
Yeah. So my brother bought me out of that lighting company, and the real estate side transactions have been slow. So I said, hey, do you need help with the company? And he wanted to start an electrical contracting division of the company. So that's what I started probably 7-8 months ago now. Just this last Monday, I hired my 5th employee. we're on track for probably about, we've done about 100 grand in contracts so far. And but we'll have $1 million a year this year, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, that's the latest business, electrical contracting. I really wanted to stay in the real estate type world, which is why I was okay with doing that, because real estate's what I really want to do. So I do that part-time actually on that business, because I still run CSQ properties.
Right.
But on a part-time business, I'm starting ProConnect Electric.
So we're gonna get more into your story, but I love that Jim is here. Jim is here. He's been a volunteer here for a while. Where are our volunteers at? I know we've got a bunch of volunteers in the room here. We've got almost 20 of you. It's awesome. Love that you guys are here. So this event happens because of all the volunteers, what everybody does. And I know it doesn't seem like there's a lot, but there's a lot that goes into this. So Jim's a volunteer with us, starting a new location, but I know you guys connected at an event a while ago, and then you became business partners. Can you talk about that Jim, a little bit? I'd love for you to maybe chime in as well, Chad.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Nice and loud.
I attend a conference just like this one, networking event with the Real Estate Guy radio show. And that's actually how I met both Chad and Bronson about 2 years ago. And at the time I was, I started studying syndication, and I knew that I was missing a lot of pieces of the puzzle. I was missing track record, I was missing the deal, all that. And so I was trying to figure out how can I syndicate a project, how can I get started? And so, I put myself out there by going to these conferences, and that's how I came across Chad at Investor Summit, run by the Real Estate Guy radio show.
So I wonder, how many of you guys would like to be in some partnerships to do bigger deals? Yeah, a lot of hands up in here. So this is very similar to how it works. It was actually at the same event, but a few years earlier that I connected with a partner, and I had raised $100,000. And then I connected with this partner who had a big kind of capital raiser program, but they weren't raising a lot of money themselves. So I said, how can we work together on this to help raise money? And over the next 18 months, we raised $15 million together, right? So I went from like, oh, I'm kind of going to there to like, ooh, it went like this. So partnerships are huge, right? Just being in the room, asking questions. Now, Chad, talk to us about I'm gonna say, we're put Jimmy on the spot here a little bit as well, but
Yeah.
what did you see as like, oh, this is a potential partner, this is a guy I'd love to work with? Or what were some things, because you obviously were more experienced, what are some things you saw in Jimmy?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I was talking to Peter about it earlier. So in the TV hosting world, anyone who's in Hollywood, like it's a pretty brutal industry, like a lot of backstabbing and stepping on people to get to the top. Like it's pretty brutal industry. And like real estate's like the opposite. Like everyone wants to try to help each other, and like it's an abundance mindset. And I met Jimmy at the Investor Summit. So I call him Jim, but I met Jim at the Investor Summit, and he needed help. And I'm thinking like, what, I gotta help. I want to help somebody out. And I had a guy that helped me out with my first deals I was doing in Long Beach, John Swire. I think you know John Swire. And like, so John Swire kind of took me under his wing in the syndication world. And I thought, I want to do that for somebody else. And Jim was local, and he wanted to do some deals. And so I said, what, let's form an LLC to help him to invest as an accredited investor, because you can do that if you have an LLC within a 506C offering. So we did that, but I just wanted to help him out, really. I mean, I didn't really have anything, like, I didn't get anything out of it. I mean, Jim's a great guy. We're great friends, but like, I met him in 2 days, and we're like, okay, well, let's talk in LA and we'll do something together. I just wanted to help him out. That's the truth.
Yeah. And since then, you guys have worked together on how many deals, or what's the? Two deals. Okay, awesome. And I know for you, that was a real help for you.
Yeah.
So I think there's a quote by maybe into personal development at all, maybe like any, so there's a quote, I was actually sharing this with Steve earlier today, you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want, right? You can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. And so, if you just have this abundant mindset, that's what really is amazing. It's not every real estate group. I'd say like at least half of real estate people are like, yeah, I want to help you, whatever. And it's not like if I do the deal or I help you and then you do the deal, like we could actually work together on a future deal. And the pie, it's not because all the pie is only this big, is we actually make the pie bigger together. Right. And I think that exists in other things, but it's just interesting how real estate seems to be. Why do you think in real estate that's such a very recognized thing, like especially in larger deals?
Yeah, I think it is because the pie is almost limitless. Like even when you talk about like turnover and in the commercial world, these properties turn over generally like every 5 years or, you know, they were turning over like every 18 months, but they turn over pretty quick. And you can make money when you sell, you make money when you buy, and you just keep doing that. So I think like there's the competition is there, but like if you lose a deal, like there's plenty of other deals out there.
Yeah.
And to me, that's probably a big foundation on why people aren't as competitive. You know, it's not a zero-sum game. It's just everyone helping each other out. And I've been helped a lot. And I'm sure some of you have been helped a lot. And you know, like I know Jeff has you know been around a long time, and he's here to help people out, right? I mean, he's gotten help from other people, and he comes to these. I mean, I think he traveled the farthest from Camarillo. And you know, he's here every month and he's a great resource. So like you have these people that just want to give back, and I think it's kind of unique in real estate.
I would say one takeaway as well is that from actually all of our stories. So if you look at, there's a saying, Tony Robbins will say, success leaves clues, right? And not that I'm successful, but you see like, okay, we've actually gotten some success here. Meetups are great. I love this meetup. You should invite everybody, invite friends and family here as well. We all connected through national conferences, going to a different, what do you think the difference is, right? If I fly to Dallas or if I go to a cruise or Belize or I go someplace exotic, which that actually was, you guys met in Belize at this investor. I met my partner on an investor cruise. It was very expensive. But you go to an event, who's going to be there? People typically that are wealthy and people that are very serious about real estate or have a successful business. I'm not saying in this room, there's going to be a lot of people that are brand new. And how many are unashamed? You're totally pretty brand new. It's no problem. You're going to raise your hand. Yes, I'm proud. Probably about a third, normally a third or half. And there's going to be some that are very serious. At a conference, it's almost everybody is at least taking themselves very seriously, right? And so you may think like, I don't even know what I have to offer, right? But you just simply go and you show up and you ask questions and you learn. And if you can simply say to yourself, like what Jim did, I'd love to hear a little more from you, like, but being in that setting and just simply asking, what can I do to serve this person? How can I learn this? And then you found a way, or you found a way to be a partner, right?
Absolutely. I think it's very important to always think about investing in yourself. It's not always about how can I acquire more units and create more cash flow. All that will take care of itself if you continue to invest in your networking, your education, and that's going to take you very far. And that's what I ultimately decided to do by, taking that big courageous step to go to Investor Summit to find a potential partner, because I know I lack a lot of things that I need to fill in.
So
Can I add
yeah,
something
please,
to
please.
that?
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, hey, what would you do different, Chad, if you had to start over? And so I'm gonna just answer it now because this is an important point. Like for me, I got my first mentor when I was like 42 years old. And I always did everything myself. And I wish I would have known earlier on to get a mentor and invest in networking sooner than I started. Because I used to be the guy that would go to conferences and then I'd go back to my room and write down all my notes and take down all these action items, review the material. Like I just wanted to learn so much. There were 3 master's degrees, maybe that's embedded in me, but it took a long time to break away from that and realize like that wasn't what the conferences were for. It's for the networking is like way more valuable. And paying for coaches or like the ITI courses, like that's how you compress timeframes and get ahead faster.
Yeah, it really is a good point, because a lot of times we think it's just the information. If I just had the information, I'm gonna relate with that. If I had the information, I could do it, right? I'm gonna feel like that. I'm an information junkie, right? I read books, I do all this stuff. Same with you. But it's the connections, being in the room, being somebody who's present, being somebody who shows up, how you show up. And we all have a brand, whether we have a company or not, we show up a certain way. People see that that's who we are. It's very rare. How many of you come from the single family world where you've done some single family deals before? I'm raising my hand as well, because that's me. You can do a lot of single family by yourself. When you get to larger deals, it's very rare somebody does larger deals by themselves. You get 100 units, multifamily, you get to other things. It's very much a team effort. So I want you to talk a little bit about, let's talk about your first syndicated deal. So what was that deal? Talk a little bit about how you did it, how you got the money, kind of how you found the deal.
Sure. So yeah, that's a story in of itself. So I sold the business and took me a while to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And I had done some real estate investing on my own. ran out of my own money and realized, learned a little bit about syndication, but like when I did my first syndication, I didn't know like nearly as much as I do now. Like I didn't really go to any syndication seminars. Like I met Bronson at one and I was already in escrow on my deal when I went to my first like syndication. Yeah,
Remember
that was my first one. And that was in 2019. So I kind of learned after the fact, but I ran a business. I had a good background in construction. I had some money. So it was a 10-unit deal in Long Beach. And I had to raise 1.2 million. And I was the sole GP, KP on the deal. So I did everything from A to Z, which I don't know that I'd really recommend it, but it was a lot of work. And I'll tell you, it was really, really stressful. So for one, I didn't know that I was gonna be able to close on the loan. And this was when, you had like 10 or 12 day inspection periods and then EMD money went hard, which was my money and non-refundable after 10 days. And I raised like $100,000 at that point. I'm like, man, and I had like 60 days to do it. So, but I took the leap, I did it. And so then we're getting like towards the end of closing and I still hadn't raised all the money yet.
How much do we have to raise?
1.2 million.
1.2, and you had 100K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's your money. You're like, you raised it.
Yeah.
So
So,
if he doesn't raise the money, he loses 100K.
Yes.
Or somebody
yeah,
else's money.
no, it was mine.
It was your money.
It was
Yeah,
my
it's like
EMD money. So yeah, I'd lose the 100K and I didn't even have the loan yet. Like there's no financing contingency. I didn't have the loan. I knew what I wanted, but it hadn't been approved. And so I really started getting nervous towards the end. I had like maybe 10 days left and I still needed to raise like 300 grand or so. And finally, like 3 days before the loan finally comes through, I got the loan. And out of the 300K left that I needed, I raised, I think like maybe 150 or so. I put up another 150 of mine in the deal to kind of close it.
Yeah.
So maybe 1.05 was what I needed. But anyways, so it was finally the week of the close, I got the last investor in, threw in some more of my money, got the loan 3 days before and then closed. And it's been an amazing deal. I still have it today. It cash flows great every month. I've already returned. I've returned 60% of the investor capital back already.
Yeah.
And we still hold on to it. So every month passive income and it's been a great property.
That's great. No, and again, there's a few things that stand out to me is like, you put 100K down that was non-refundable. That's how it gets real, right?
10 days. I mean, can you imagine?
I mean, I've lost money, but that's that's betting on yourself, really.
Yeah.
And then the loan's not coming through, they're probably still sleepless night. They say that if you're an entrepreneur, you have some of those mornings where you, about 3 a.m, you just kind of wake up and you stare at the ceiling. You're like, I don't want my life right now. But you did it. Yeah. What was the purchase price?
It was like 2.1. So we had a lot of construction money in that, like 500K construction budget.
So you've done, I want to talk about your deals and I want to get into partnership because I think there's some stuff about good and bad partners and things that we've learned. You and we've been in a couple of deals together as well. So we've seen some things, good and bad. So you did a few more deals with kind of yourself. And then I remember we had a call a few years ago and you were like, yeah, I need to kind of change this up here because I'm kind of like doing everything, right? You were kind of doing like, how many units was that deal? 10 units, right?
Yeah, they were all 10 units, like four 10-unit buildings.
So like that would 10 units in LA at that time would have been like 100 unit or 80 units in Atlanta maybe or something like that. It's kinda like,
I mean, it really was. Yeah, stupid money.
so you did more deals and then there came a point where you're like, I'm doing too much here because you were hitting construction, you were finding the deals, you were operating, you were raising money, you were doing everything.
Yeah.
And how many units? I mean, it's LA units are obviously different than other, but how many
40.
units? 40 units. So 40 units, that's probably like at least a couple hundred units. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
it's
a lot for one person.
So then I know we had a talk saying, hey, why don't you consider going out of state or doing something out of state? Talk to us about that journey for you. And then
Sure.
I want you to jump into, I'm going to hog in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna hear his insight on some of the partnership stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd done that. So there's probably two things that happened to me that made me want to, diversify a little bit out of California. So the first was that I had, all my investments here, which was good because I knew it. I could drive down there. I was very hands-on with the construction. And that made me feel comfortable as an operator. So I needed to diversify a little bit out of that. But the other thing was COVID happened. And a lot of us, anyone who has property during COVID, like we learned there was like a really big erosion of property rights during COVID, still continuing today. And then starting to see some of these bills that were being, either presented in Sacramento or passed in Sacramento, like I call it legislative liability. Like I have no control over that. I could have the best underwriting in the world. I have no idea how to account for that, and things change. And to me, that made me really nervous, and I got nervous for my investors. So I'm like, those are the two things that said, okay, I need to invest out of state. I talked to Bronson a lot about this because that's all he had done. And so he helped me out a lot in that regard, kind of taking that leap. And then started partnering with other people to do larger deals out of state. And maybe Jim can talk about some of the partnership stuff, because my first out of state deal, I think it was my first one, was with Jim.
Yeah, so I started studying about syndication in 2020 during lockdown because my hands were tied behind my back. I used to be a realtor, so I kind of pivot to get into syndication. And then I met Chad in 2021. We actually didn't syndicate our very first deal until a year later, so in 2022. So the process did take 2 years for me to finally syndicate. And I know in the audience, I have a lot of friends who's really eager to get into their very first real estate investment. And I always tell them, just be patient with it, because real estate, you just have to continue to, grind it out, and eventually something's going to happen. And so for me, I think what I transpired was that I started attending every single conference with Chad. Every conference you invited me to, I was there, and we met just a bunch of other syndicators. Just like I mentioned earlier, surround yourself with like-minded people, and eventually partnerships develop, and you're able to see who's serious and who you can trust as you continue to build that relationship and see the same person over and over at the same conference. And that's what I've gathered from my experience. I don't know if that's how you choose your partners.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit, but and we were originally going to do a deal in Long Beach together. Right. So that's kind of how it kind of initially started, but then we both pivoted and said, okay, with COVID going on and rules changing, let's invest out of state. And so that's what we did.
Right.
So you had a story you shared, I think a year ago. We hadn't been in this building yet, but you'd shared a little bit about a deal that you had done where you had some hard money and some stuff happened. I don't know if do you want to share that again? You don't have to get into that, or you can go wherever you want with that. So.
Oh man, I tell you, if you're in the business long enough, you're gonna get some war wounds, for sure. You always get stories. So yeah, it was a deal that we were doing in Tallahassee, Florida, and I don't know how much you want to get into. It's a long story, but maybe I'll shorten it and just say that that I had $100,000 EMD money on that deal. And
these were other partners that were operating and
yes,
more capital, right? That was your
yes.
Well, you were doing different things.
Yeah. So they had already done the deal. I was hoping to backfill it. And I came in with $100K EMD money, and 3 days before we were set to close, we had a $2.5 million 1031 back out of the deal.
So what that means is there was somebody who was going to sell their property and come in as a tax exempt exchange. And that's the issue with 1031s, is they can do that. They can just, I'm not going to do it.
Brutal. So they said the $2.5 million dropped out, and we're like, oh my gosh. And who was it? I was talking to you about having the opportunity for this gap funding or last funding, right? Mm-hmm. That's like, we needed last minute funding. And so I was scrambling really hard. All of us were, and the guys, like, they threw in the towel, and we still had like 2 days, because you can't wait till the last day to throw in the towel. It's these big deals move slowly. You got to put the ball in motion, a couple of days beforehand. And these guys, like on day 3, they threw in the towel, and I'm like, we can't throw in the towel. Like we got, it's $2.5 million. Okay, it's a big amount, but there's all of us. Let's try to borrow money, blah blah. So we said, okay, we wrangled the team. Let's say, okay, we'll give it 24 hours, see what we can do in 24 hours to raise 2.5 million. And mind you, like we all brought all the money to the table already. So like
How much earnest money? There was a time when it was really crazy. Like how much earnest money was there?
that we had 800K.
So between the partner and you had 100K of that.
Yeah,
So you're wrangling, this is just a few other people, right? You're
yeah,
wrangling. Okay,
yeah.
so
It was like maybe.
how many like that challenge? 24 hours to raise?
Okay, now you guys are like undercover billionaire. You've got 200.
And so finally, they said, okay, we'll give it one more shot and we'll go back at it again. Give it 24 hours, see what we can do. We got to talk to the bank tomorrow by 4 p.m. So we hustled hard. We actually raised another $1 million in 24 hours. And but we didn't get 2.5 and
No more extensions. You couldn't extend
no,
anymore.
so it had already been extended
Okay,
once.
okay.
Yeah, of course, we asked for extensions and
Non-refundable.
they non-refundable. They said
I
no.
mean, the extensions, they usually cost you some EMD.
The first extension didn't. The second one would have cost a lot.
Yeah.
And so we weren't gonna put any more money in on the extension and we lost the deal. We lost $800,000 EMD money.
That's a bad day, right?
It was a really bad day. But I will tell you, as we start to talk a little bit more about partnerships, you really find out who your good partners are when things are going south, right? You really do. They say when the tide goes out, you find out who's got the shorts down, like you find out. So when that deal went sideways, they actually rolled my GP percentage, that 100K, they put into another one of their deals. And I was like super thankful of them. They didn't need to do that. They said they moved it into another deal and which I helped them backfill that deal because that one had already closed, but we still had to raise funds.
Right.
So anyways, but like that to me, like that was a really big deal that they did that.
So all the money was there from investors. You guys kind of basically refunded or redirected that to the other deal if investors
Yes.
wanted to go. But for him, he lost 100K.
Yeah,
They basically credited him with 100K worth of, as if he'd put the money into this other deal,
Oh.
yeah.
right? So they basically gifted him, hey, you lost the money here, but we're gonna gift you the equal amount. How many of you would like to have a partner like that?
Yeah.
Who's the one that gifted it?
It came out of the GP.
Oh, the other GPs?
Yeah.
So Zillow gave it out of his own, so sometimes you have just generous high net worth people that operate in integrity, so that was great, that was interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, you talk about a partner like that. And I'm not getting any names, but Jim knows who I'm talking about. Like, those are partners that, you know what, like, I'm gonna stay by that guy. Right? If they're willing to do that, that says a lot. And then I've seen it, witness it on how they're helping to shield investors through issues we're going through now. It makes a big difference, but it's kind of hard to learn those lessons unless you go through something tough, which is challenging. You hate to have to go through these to kind of learn really who's good, who's not. But when you do learn those lessons, like you really want to keep those lessons.
Yeah. Good. We will take some questions here at the, I saw your question, we'll take it in just a couple minutes here, so hold on to that, we may answer it in a minute here too. Okay, so that's a good partner. So let's hear a not so good partner.
Maybe.
How do you want to hear a not so good
Not so good
partner?
partner.
Story. Was that a good story or what?
You're the teacher here. Who wants to-
Yeah, you started off. You started off.
Not so good partners.
Don't
Well,
use names or don't use that.
yeah,
No
yeah,
names.
no names. So in my,
In the room.
Are they bold?
so in my second deal, I think we did a massive deal with like over 100 investors. I think 160 investors, don't count me on that. And so we had a group of GPs, I would say like 7 to 8, or maybe less, I don't know. But what happened was that we had gone through a capital call on this deal. And none of half the people show up on the capital call. And I think it's the GP's responsibility to get all the investors on the call, at least, right? To be able to, I feel like there's a point where you'll go through partnerships and you really need to get to know your partners, who your GPs are. And that was my mistake for not getting to know them, because I don't know how they operate. I don't know if they're just the type of people that just, want to set it and forget it. They don't want to be bothered. But it was really hard to communicate during tough times. And that's something that you really need to make sure that you get, cross the T's, dot the I's, and make sure that you get to know them.
So everybody know what a capital call is? It's if a deal starts going not well, it's basically saying, hey, you invested your 100K, we need more money because this is happening. And there's been various reasons this has happened. Sometimes it's been through management, sometimes with rates. Volume in multifamily has been down 85% from where it was 2 years ago. And part of the reason when rates were allowing you to get a mortgage payment for a large multifamily at 3 to 6%, now it's more like 6.5%, 7% up to 15%, right? So it's very different. So as a buyer coming in, so there's different challenges there. So, but you found out, you said you get to know, you alluded to before, you get to know your partners as you do a deal. So talk a little bit more about that, Chad.
Yeah, so some of us might have heard the horse track analogy for syndication in real estate. So the idea is that the horse track is the market, right? The horse itself is the property, and the jockey is the operator or the KPs on the deal, right? Those are like the three main parties. And a lot of us say, hey, you got to bet on the jockey, right? You got to bet on the sponsor, their experience. And that's the person that you really want to focus on. You got to check the mark that it's the right track and the right horse, but the sponsor is really driving that deal. Well, I'd like to propose that there's actually a fourth player in the deal, and those are the caretakers in the stable. So when the horse gets sick, it's the caretakers in the stable that need to take care of the horse. And in the syndication world, those are the co-GPs. So if you have a deal that's going sideways like we've had, and you need to raise money, it's the co-GPs that need to rally the troops to bring the money. And if they don't do it, which we've seen is a major problem. And you could have the rock star syndicate sponsors at the top, but if they don't want to bring $3 million extra to the deal and they're relying on the co-GPs to do it, which is pretty common for capital calls, and you don't have it, then you could run into really big problems. So I've learned going through this experience to focus a lot more on who the other co-GPs are and maybe have smaller co-GP teams. And me as a sponsor would operate it totally differently with co-GPs. But to date, I think co-GPs have been totally undervalued in what they bring to the table. And I've seen them sink deals.
Yeah, oh, you've seen that too. We're gonna take some questions here in a minute. Before we do that, I agree with that. I love the stable analogy there too. And I think too, a lot of times it's easy to go into business and feel like we're all kind of doing this for the same reasons, right? If anybody had a business partner before, you had a business partnership that didn't work out. And a lot of business partnerships don't last forever. It's okay. There's a kind of a length of time, whatever. But I think it's really important to pay attention to what people say, what they're doing, how do they treat the people that don't seem to matter, the employees that, at a hotel or at a restaurant, or how are they treating people that it doesn't really impact? Are they respecting people? Are they, and then also prior partners, there's things that, and then sometimes you do all the diligence and, you get it wrong, and I've gotten it wrong, and I've learned some things. So, it's actually ironic about that one. I actually didn't do the deal you did with the guy that bailed you out with 100K, and I did another deal where it was like, I wish I hadn't done the deal. So we're all like, and that's the challenge with this business is you just keep learning, you keep growing, and as you're starting out, you're more like, hey, I just want to do a deal. I just want to get a deal done. I want to get a deal done. After a while, you kind of get to like, I want to do a deal with the right partners. I want to make sure that it works well. I want to make sure that I really take care of you because you have friends and family. They're in this deal, and if something goes wrong, this is some of them, their life savings or it's issues.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit, just about like, and then we'll take some questions, but just again, a little more about partnership and why, like when you raise capital, which you've raised a lot of capital. I know you spoke at Raise Masters recently, and you've got a whole talk on this that you did, which is awesome in front of 1,000 people or whatever. But what is it about, like when somebody wires you 100K, like what does that feel? How does that feel for you?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of responsibility with that. And a lot of us can probably relate to it that you're probably more cautious with other people's money than you are your own money, which is not always true in Hollywood, but in real estate, I think most people feel that way. So yeah, there's a lot of responsibility with that. And I reached out to a buddy of mine who's, really renowned CPA and real estate guy. And because I've been talking to him about this deal, this, challenging deal we're dealing with. And he's like, Chad, he's like, I've lost investor money 3 times in my life. And he said once in 2000, once in 08, and once last year. And he said, it's brutal. It's totally brutal. And he's actually gone to therapy for it. And he said one of the things he learned by going through therapy is that you need to learn to forgive yourself, right? It's you have the best intentions, you do all the best due diligence you can, you work as hard as you can, you find the best people, but at the end of the day, this is still an investment, right? And investments don't always pan out. So I don't know if I've gotten to that point of being able to forgive myself yet, but I'm working on it.
I think it's a good point because I've had some similar moments. We haven't had a loss. We have some that, could lead to a loss that it could, and it's hard. It's hard, it's feeling like if anybody's had this imposter syndrome feeling like, who am I to be sharing this or be doing this or to be, but life is all about, it's not what, necessarily the choices we make or what happens to us, but it's what we learned. The day I lost of my own money, $70,000 trading options in one day. And my net worth was $200,000. That's a bad day, right? It's a bad day, right? But I learned I'm not a good options trader. I have other skills. I have other things I can do. And we laugh, but it's all like the first investment is in ourselves. We invest in our own education. And so, I know you and I, all of us, we did it for the right reasons. And yet sometimes things don't always go our way. But it's funny, the stock market goes down by like 20-30%. Nobody's like, oh, it's down a little bit, whatever. But it's like, when it's a deal, it's like, oh no, what's going on? What are you doing? And it's like, some of it's out of our control sometimes. So let's open it up for questions. Love the conversation. It's been really good. Yeah.
All right. First of all, compliments, bravery, transparency, humility, because this business is not easy, especially now, right? There's a lot of gray clouds on the future, and should be no pretenses that this is an easy cakewalk. Also, losing your own money, Bronson, that's one thing, but I get it, like the ulcer, whatever feeling, the putting yourself out there to go raise money and then losing other people's money, that's tragic, like you said, like requiring, therapy, whatever. Anyway, so getting to, vetting partners, like what are some of the things that you do to vet partners? I presume like maybe one of those questions are, tell me about a situation where you lost some money, what'd you learn, how'd you deal with it, especially if it's like a co-GP situation. But besides some, Q&A, also like when do you ask for NDAs? You found a deal, you want to partner with some guys. Do you do NDAs or do you have kind of this element of trust? But besides that kind of direct due diligence on the prospective partner, what are some of the indirect, the websites, the paid for services, whatever references to figure out whether or not you want to get married with somebody, because it's pretty close to that.
It's a partnership.
Getting married is all like beautiful and sweet, and romantic divorces suck.
This is applicable to vetting partners as well as even people you invest with. So what are some things that you look for, or what are some other part of the vetting process that you do when you're doing?
Sure. So I've learned a lot through these experiences, and especially the importance of co-GPs. But whether you're looking at co-GPs or sponsors, for me, it's a great question. Okay, tell me about a deal that went bad and what'd you do, right? What's the biggest lesson that you've learned, and tell me about the bad stuff. But I think you still got to take that with a grain of salt because it's coming from them, right? Who knows really what happened, and they're going to spin it and sugarcoat it. But what I like to do is, okay, find out what that deal is that went bad, and then talk to somebody else that was in the deal to find out how they handled it. You know what I mean? Get the third party. Right. The third party look at what that person did, and hopefully, like depending on what you're evaluating, hopefully they're in a leadership role so that you can evaluate what they did when things got really tough. The other thing too is references is pretty important. But what I like to do, and this is probably pretty important for anyone that's done references on any employees, and you always do reference checks, and you do the same thing with sponsors. I like to do it for co-GPs. And talk to the references, but you gotta read between the lines. And if you listen closely, you can get a lot of information out of it, but you have to, I mean, it's really an art to do this, that you need to get the other person comfortable pretty quick. You need to kind of know how to talk to them so they feel comfortable with you, especially on the employee. If you can do this with employees, because you got to deal with like California labor law issues where they can't tell you stuff. If you learn how to do it there, you can do it with sponsors. And so you make them feel comfortable with you, and then you pay the most attention to what they're not telling you, right? Reading between the lines. And I found that with enough references, you can actually get a lot of good information out there. You might not know 100%, but you can definitely have an idea of how things went when you're doing those reference checks on other people.
Anything you want to add to?
For me, I look for someone who actually knows how to operate a business, that have experience operating businesses. Because I've met a lot of syndicators where they're doing this as a side hustle and so forth. I want someone who's 100% in on doing what they do. And going back to what you're saying, references, I would tell their investors, the people that invested with them, and ask questions. You know, just there's like a list of questions I have that I pretty much curated to be able to ask. It's kind of like if you're at, going through interviews and you ask, somebody asks for reference and you always give them your best friend and so forth, and that kind of references. So I just, that's how I usually pick up more information.
I typically, I have a process where I'll do a background check on a partner, especially like as a co-GP or as I'm doing a deal. And this actually happened recently where somebody passed a background check. They have an asset class that I love, and I'm not going to talk about it because you might know who they are, but we started to kind of build something and work together. This person hadn't raised money and I've raised a lot of money. So here we have this great partnership. We're going to do this. And then as we got into it, I just kind of realized some of the values were a little different. And I woke up a couple mornings and I just was like anxious about it. And I just started to realize, I just forgot about the gut feeling, right? Just in my gut, I was like, and I could point to like 2 or 3 things like this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel right. Some had to do with the direct experience in this exact thing. And this guy had never had other partners that he worked with in that space, right? So one of the things I love to talk is I talk to people that have worked with this person in a partner role, not only just like an investor role, but also a partner role. Like what were they like when the deal would do stuff? So I said, hey, and he's a friend, but I say, I appreciate you, love you, but I can't move forward with this. And he was kind of really taken back by it. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I probably done 50 hours of work here, but I'm not gonna get paid on it, but I'd rather do that and back away than go through with not feeling not right about it. So there's kind of a gut feeling there too that you'll get, I'm sure, in other ways. We'll go in 1 second. NDAs, yes, about NDAs. Once in a while I get an NDA. I got an NDA today for a deal, but sometimes if you're afraid somebody's gonna steal a deal or something unique, you'll sign an NDA, which can happen, but not a ton, but that can just a non-disclosure agreement, yeah.
I think it's great, like if you find someone that checks all those boxes, but what if you don't, or they just check one box really well? What are some ways to mitigate like a partnership when you want to move forward, but you're not really sure like what's gonna happen on the other side of the road?
I mean, what if they have really nice hair?
Yeah, I mean, it's, this is like the entrepreneurial part of it, right? Where in this business, nothing's ever 100%. Everything is always probabilities and risks. And, in your mind, you might be thinking like, what are the most important check boxes that you got to check? And you might not ever get to 100%. You certainly aren't going to be able to find out everything you want to know. So at that point, sometimes it does become a gut feel, right? And you sleep on it. But you just try to do as much as you can to feel comfortable. And knowing that at the end of the day, it's still an investment, it's still a new business, that you're starting with an LLC and you're not going to know everything. And I think that's the entrepreneurial part of it that comes into play that you got to be comfortable with.
Good question. I know we had a friend here. You had a question earlier.
Yeah, so you were mentioning before that there's times where you have to raise more money. What would have to call in that situation to rally everyone together to raise more money?
I'll talk about it. I think for me, how I communicate to my investor is that if you believe in the deal from the get-go, from the beginning, you put money down, you believe in this deal. What's stopped you from believing the deal now? Because of economic situation, downturn and so forth.
I think saying what's the reason?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the reason?
What
you
would be
have
the
capital?
repercussions, you know what I'm saying, to cause you to actually have to
Yeah.
raise more money?
What causes the capital?
Yeah.
After you've already
Oh.
closed the deal
In
or in
general.
the beginning?
Yeah.
So I think his question is, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the idea of like, you've got the deal going, you're a year into it, we need more money. What's the reason for a capital call? And in our situation, we had a couple capital calls where, insurance went up 400%. There's been some management issues, maybe the property managers things, some of that's in your control, some of it's out of your control. Also, you're coming toward where you need to refinance and rates rise the fastest they have in 40 years. And, the property's worth 20 to 40% less, even in the same condition. So that's a tough thing, right? If you only put 20% down and your property's worth 30% less, 2 years later, that's a problem, right? Your negative equity, in other words, the equity was gone. So then you have a question, are you gonna put more money into this? Or are you just gonna let it go? Because technically there's no equity, but people put millions of dollars into it. So it can be a variety of things. I don't know if you
Rate
want to
cap
add
renewals
anything
is
else.
a big one nowadays.
But
Rate cap renewals, not adjustable rate deals.
yes, if somebody has a bridge debt, they're doing a value add type of deal, which I learned through this. For me personally, I don't want to do another multifamily deal unless it's a fixed rate, kind of long-term deal, just for me personally. My cousin was here, my cousin Wes did that, and he's doing this 30 years and never had the issues that have happened recently because of the long-term fixed debt. So anything else you want to add? Or?
Yeah. No, I mean, in today's market, it's mostly all debt issues. So it's bridge debt, which was, 3-year short-term debt. It was variable debt that people were getting. They'd fix it up and then refinance into a fixed product. And, most people would assume some sort of interest rate escalator, but not accounting for a 40-year, run. So that's what's crushed this market is debt. You do have some, property tax issues in Texas. You have insurance issues in Florida. But a lot of it is debt issues.
Yeah, that's good. Good question. Let's go here and then we'll go to the back.
Given that cash is king now again, have you been talking to private equity companies? And if so, what kind of reactions, what kind of
They're sharks.
stone wall, right?
They're sharks. I got a call tomorrow with one, and we've been dealing with, and it's.
Is he in your deal or are you courting?
I've done it both ways, in the deal and not in the deal. In the deal, they'll work with you a little bit more.
When private equity's in the deal.
Yes.
Yeah, they get skin in the game, they don't want to lose.
Yeah, but it's brutal. I mean, and they're brutal. What their requirements are. They don't, it's not their job. They don't care about the investors. And they,
Performance kickouts.
they're what?
Performance kickouts.
Oh, it's,
Well,
You miss 2 quarters,
Well, they
they
squeeze
take
you,
you
so-
out.
So as a capital raiser, if you raise money, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful at all, but we call it smart money and dumb money. Right? It doesn't mean that one person's smart or one's dumb, but smart money is what you're talking about. They will squeeze you on every little thing. If you don't make money, they don't make money, or if they don't make money, you don't make money. And then dumb money, we would say it's just somebody who's never invested in real estate, right? They're more like, oh, I'm excited to get a deal, right? It's a different type. Now, again, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying these guys are gonna put it, they're gonna 10 ways from Tuesday, they're gonna have that thing underwritten so many different, because that's all they do all the time.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna squeeze you in a lot of different ways. And that's kind of what you're seeing.
yeah, when they smell blood in the water, it's a bad day. So, and that's what's happening on a lot of these deals. I mean, Neil Bawa was at the last conference I spoke at, and he was saying as bad as things are, we're only talking about like 3,000 buildings that are on this bridge that have this bridge debt issue. And that's out of like 119 or 120,000 buildings, right? So it's a really small number percentage wise, but if you're one of the 3,000, it hurts.
Question in the back there. Let's go here and then we'll come here. Yeah. That's fine.
I appreciate you guys' transparency on everything. I just want to know your thought process when you look at a deal. What do you think in your head? Is this going to be good or is it going to be bad? And should I do this? What's going through your head of that? Like, should I raise money for this?
Yeah.
Should I not? Like, if you really are considering a deal or something like that.
Well, I guess according to me, it's just how you wake up in the morning, how you feel about it. That's a good, really, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of factors. Yeah, I think it's hard to quantify, but I think there's a lot of different things. I mean, there's the background check, there's the reference. If somebody's either invested, I know somebody that, you know, has invested with a group or has been a partner, like an active side or both. Somebody, you know, again, how does this person respond? Are they asking, are they transparent? They're like, hey, when you talk to them, do you get kind of a BS answer? Like, I don't know if I'm quite getting the whole story. You talk with somebody, you can kind of tell, right? You're kind of like, am I really getting the full story? Or they kind of, you can kind of get a feel from people, right? So, but there's people that like, actually, I recently had an oil guy, we done a couple of oil deals. And a guy was like, you know, this guy seems nice, but it's just not, it's not the right timing for us. That's one thing. It's not the right timing for us. Plus I've got another oil deal probably coming this summer, which I'm really excited about. So it's like, you know, there's some of that goes into it. And then this guy needs like per well, it's like $6 million raised, right? I don't have 6 million. I got maybe it was a couple million for that, but like that's a large amount. So there's a lot of facts, kind of the buy box thing as well. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. And, but yeah, we get, I mean, if you're in the space and you get pitched a lot of deals and you have to say no about 98% of the time. And I don't know, what do you do when you guys get deals coming?
Looking at deals and.
Yeah, I think the buy box is a pretty important place to start. So going back to the horse track analogy, you know, you'll want to have an idea as an investor or syndicator, you have an idea of what market do you want to be in? What geographical market do you want to be in? You know, what type of horse do you want? Like asset class, you know, self-storage, industrial, office, multifamily, whatever. Like figure out your asset class and then really start networking a lot with the sponsors and different operators. For me, I like to invest as an LP in other sponsors' deals first before I partner with them. I haven't done that every time, but most of the time I have done that. So as an LP, you kind of learn a lot too by testing the waters. I got completely burned on that on this other deal where I went in as an LP and lost everything. I went in as LP before because I was going to GP that deal. And so I said, okay, I'm going to test it out first. And I did. And holy smokes.
This was the non-real estate deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, so you can learn a lot by being an LP in other deals, not only about the sponsor, but also about the industry, right? Like if anyone's got some money and if you know somebody, you can invest less than the minimum on these deals. If you know the person and whatnot, they'll make a break for you, or they may make a break for you. But you can learn a lot that way about the sponsor. But you've really figured out that buy box for what you're looking for. And once you've got that narrowed down, then as you start to look at deals that fit in that buy box, you'll actually have a good feeling for what is a good deal and what's not a good deal just by following that for quite a while.
We also, like, if you ask around, we know a lot of people in the space. So like between Chad and I, or whoever, like Jeff, we start talking, like we'll kind of know a lot of, there's like a lot of reputations. If somebody does something that's not above board, oh, this person did this in this situation. Gosh, well, I'd never work with you.
Yeah,
Kind of like,
it gets
those
around.
moments are kind of like, oh, that's kind of crazy. So interesting. So in the pink over here, yeah.
Yeah, thank you all so much for sharing your vetting process. I had a couple follow-up questions. So you mentioned to ask about deals that have gone south and talking to other parties that have gone in that deal. So my question is, short of asking the party that you're speaking to, do you have any other advice for identifying who the other parties are, getting their contact information, getting in touch with them? And then you also mentioned to pay attention to what people are not telling you. I would love to hear from all of you, maybe some specific examples of something that had been omitted and the insight that gave you during those deals.
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit like private detective work, right? And he brought up the good example of asking, well, you know, you're actually talking to the person. You're saying, okay, tell me an example of a deal that didn't go the way you wanted to, or what was your biggest learning, you know, experience you had. And that's your starting point. And then like, once you know that information, you talk to them, they'll give you some information, and then hopefully you can do some homework on that deal if it's big enough. If it's a small deal, it's going to be really tough and you're likely not to find out more information. But if it's a bigger deal and you're in, you know, these networks and you're talking to people, like you can find out other people that were in the deal or the GPs in the deal and try to set up a call with them to ask them information about how it went. And then also talking to investors like, hey, you know, do you have a few investors I can talk to? as references. And they're gonna give you the good ones, so that is, you wanna find out if there's, you try to read between the lines there. So to answer your third question, which is, okay, what kind of things are you looking for? I've learned the most about this when I'm hiring California employees, because the way the laws change, like literally, like legally, you can't say anything on references except the dates you worked and what your position was. And anything else other than that, like they could get in trouble for. Some people don't know that, but anyone sophisticated knows that. So then what you need to do is keep them on the phone, talking to them, make them feel comfortable. And then like when you could tell they're omitting things, like you ask them, like, okay, what was something, that you wish they would have done differently? And then they say, well, I really can't talk about that, right? Like, but that's a lot different than saying, well, I can't really think of anything, actually. You see what I'm saying? So in both instances, they didn't really answer the question, but one is very different than the other. And so as you pay attention to the way they're answering the questions, even if they're not explicitly telling you, I found that you can learn a lot that way. And on sponsors, I think it's actually a little bit easier because you don't have California labor laws. So if you find another one and you get someone who's comfortable, then I find that people will open up more than they would on an employee reference check.
This is where going to masterminds and groups and building your network is really helpful. Because I can tell you, Chad has a great network, right? And Jimmy, they've got a great network that we can, and myself as well, we can kind of figure out and get on the phone or text, hey, we're in this deal, whatever, anybody, and like word gets out. So that's where your network too, kind of how you fit in that can be really, really helpful as well. I think what we're gonna do, are we okay to do more, or are we, one more, okay, is our last question? Yes, okay.
Well, I was gonna make a statement.
Yeah.
But I want to follow up on what Chad said as far as coming in as an LP. As an LP, you have a ticket to the door. So now you're opened up to be able to ask all kinds of questions because that's your right. You are an investor. So sometimes some of the questions that you may not be able to get answered ahead of time, as an LP, you have a right as an owner to ask all these questions about the financials as the deal is progressing along. So as sponsors or as investors, we might invest as an LP, learn about this sponsor and get more information. But sometimes as a small investor, you're coming in with 25, you're coming in with 50. They may not want to waste a lot of time answering your questions. And maybe that's not the sponsor you want to work with. But when you're coming in with bigger checks, as we do with our funds, they're more likely to answer the questions because you're coming in with a bigger check.
That's a great point. So guys, I just want to say I feel like we could talk for a long time and this was great. You guys get some value out of this? Was this good? Yeah. Good. Yeah. I want to say, that was our last question. So you will be around for a little bit. So if you want to ask more last questions, you can ask him more questions. Oh, you got his book. Yeah, that's double up. So yeah, I want to say one thing about Chad real quick. So I just want to say, always appreciate your friendship and your honesty and your transparency and just the way we've grown together and partner on some stuff has been great. So I think this is how we learn. This is how we grow when people kind of just share, this is what's going on, right? Do you guys feel that? Do you guys feel that it's just an honest conversation? It's great. And so I think this is what we try to set up here is a place where you can be, you just be who you are and you show up as you are and where you want to go. And if you don't show up authentically, that's hard to do, right? Maybe you've never seen somebody didn't show up authentically, or maybe you found a way you didn't really show up the way you wanted to show up. And so I just wanted to that for Jimmy. Thanks for co-leading today. You did a great job. We're excited for you. I think June is when the meetup's going to start in kind of Diamond Bar area. So he's looking at places, I think this next week. So keep in touch with Jimmy, reach out to him if you're kind of out that way or kind of out. So we're going to have some great meetings out there. And then Chad, you have a book that you wanted to say something about real quick, which I think is awesome. So say something about your book.
I briefly mentioned it when I started. It's called The Transformational Journey. And it's me to kind of talk about my pathway to get to real estate as an investor. And I brought some extra copies. So if anyone wanted a copy of that, you can meet me either at the table or in the back. I've got some extra copies.
In the back. So Steve's going to have some coming up, but We're gonna do a quick selfie as Steve comes up, and then let's give Chad and Jim. All right, 1, 2, okay, we gotta get the whole crowd in there. Or I can, let's get 1, 2, 3. Do it for the gram.
Great job, great job. Let's give him a big hand. All right, thank you. Okay, guys, so I gotta tell you something. Chad is an amazing, amazing guy, by the way. I personally met him about 2 years ago. And one thing I can say about Chad, and I think Bronson really pointed out, he is probably one of the most authentic people that you really can get in the world. I mean, he hasn't really told you all the stuff that he's gone through, but he's definitely gone through it quite a bit, you know? And I'm really honored that Chad, thank you so much for really sharing your information with us. You just made us look so good out here. But thank you again, okay? Great. You want to come up here? Yes, please. So Jimmy, you want to say a little bit about what you're up to and what we're doing and?
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
So, just like what Bronson mentioned earlier, I'm going to be starting my own local meetup club in Diamond Bar. Locations, I'm gonna go check out the place. It's gonna be either in a city of industry or Arcadia. It's gonna be an office setting like this, so I'm pretty excited. And if there's any volunteers nearby, if you guys want to, join the club, feel free to reach out to me, or Steve.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I'm just gonna tell you how the rest of the evening's gonna go. Okay, so we're gonna have an opportunity to network. We have opened up, by the way, our leadership program again. I don't know, there's some of you guys may already know about our leadership program. So the way the leadership program works is one of the very, very first courses that we do inside of the ITI. It's all about Napoleon Hill's teaching and teach you how to get, just kind of understanding that knowledge. So we sponsor a lot of our volunteers to go into that program. So those of you guys who are interested in volunteering in that program, it is a 6-month program. You will have an accountability partner and you will be in a group of 4 to 5 people that you need to show up on the calls once a week and you're being held accountable to really produce results that you want to do in your life. So if you want to go ahead and be part of that, please come and see me. Definitely, I would. There's some people here that have done that course. Who's here that has done that course? Okay, great. So we've got a couple of people here. Who else has done it here? Okay, good. So I'd just like to hear from some of you guys. You want to come up here, JC? What? Yeah, you. Come up here. All right, let's give JC a big hand. Yeah. I'm not putting you on the spot. All right, come on up, JC. Just tell us what you got out of it.
Hi, everybody. My name is JC. When I first joined the leadership program, that was back in when? In the summertime?
I think so, yeah.
The summertime, 6 months program. We meet every week and we form a small group and we take turn. In a small group, we have like 4 to 6 people and we take turn, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Each one of us take turn to be a leader and we lead. We talk about usually there's a theme that we talk about. And usually the materials that we get from is from the Napoleon.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Napoleon Hill, there's a book about it. It's about leadership. So he talks about how many laws? I forgot how many laws.
10 laws.
There was 10 laws. So there's a theme and 4 to 6 weeks, we each take turn to lead about that topic. So it's a chance for each one of us to be a leader. And that's why it's called leadership. So we get a lot out of it to show what you got.
What did you get out of it yourself?
To be more confident, to learn about the different laws that helps you to become a leader. Enthusiasm, confidence, to be able to communication. communication is a key in leadership. So I'm learning that myself right now to communicate. And from that, it makes me want to be a speaker. I'm learning. So public speaking is not a big thing for me. It's a big thing for me, but I'm learning. So from leadership, gave me the confidence to be a public speaker. So I'm pursuing that route. So you grow from one point to the other. That's what I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. I just want to say something about Jinxie. Actually, by the way, she's talking about public speaking and so on. This gal would not come up in front of the room. We just put her on the spot. But one thing that JC is really up to is she's up to transforming homeless life. That's really what she's up to. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, she wants to speak, because she wants to be a transformation for people out there. And she really has taken on, and that's been her mission in life. And I think inside of leadership, that got really clear for her. This is something I'm up to. And so leadership really, and I think what she said really well that she got was the ability to really be a confidence, really like just be confident. That takes a lot to just come up in front of the room and generate yourself, right? So that's something I just wanted to say, that it is available again. If you guys would like to come up to that course, there's a lot more about it, but just come and see me about that, right? The other course that we mentioned to you is on the 20th of this month also, that Christina and myself are going to be teaching that. And that's our ultimate course around real estate, out of state real estate or inside of real, whatever you want to do here. It's definitely a great course. It's from 9 to 1. It's on a Saturday. Okay. And so that's also another course we've got going on. Now, the rest of the evening, but before I go there, I just wanted to say a couple of things. It takes something to really be in this type of a business. You guys met some people tonight that really took some beating. Chad kind of talks about what he's been able to get through, but he doesn't really talk about the failures that had him be the successful person that he is today. I was one of the people that he interviewed when he started his journey in the beginning. And I was like, wow, I'm getting interviewed by this guy. And I had to really look and see who I was inside of that space. And then I looked at Chad just a couple of days ago, and he was in front of 1,000 people speaking. And it was like, wow, this is the same guy that interviewed me. And here it is 3 years later, and look at how far he's come. So the journey really takes off the minute you decide that that's where you want to go. And a lot of us really sit on the fence and go, oh, what am I going to do? Or how am I going to do it? Or when am I going to do it? There is really no right or wrong time. You just fall in there. There's a joke. They say this guy, there was a king, wanted to marry his daughter off. And they say, whoever the bravest guy that can make it across this pool, full of sharks, I'm going to give him my daughter. So before you know, bam, there's some guys, just gets all the way across. And you go, wait a minute, we didn't, what happened? So you're going to have my daughter and so on. He goes, wait a minute, I just want to know who was the son of a bitch that pushed me in the water. You guys get that? No. It was after the guy pushed him in the water. It was not about him getting the dog. So my point of it being is the fact he still made it true. And somebody pushed them in the water. And sometimes that's what we need. We just need to have someone push us in the water to really get across. And sometimes you're in the water, you don't think about the sharks. You're just thinking about how am I going to get to the other end? And that's what happens when life really happens in real life. That's how you deal with it. You deal with it the best as you know how. So with that said, I just want to acknowledge all of you guys because it really takes something to play the game that we're playing and be inside of those failures and get through those, right? Now, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give you an idea. We have a couple of sponsors here that, of course, we have. You want to come up, Agnes? No? Come on up. Come on up. Let's give Agnes a big. Agnes is the one that brings us all the goodies. All right. Thank you, Agnes. So Agnes, I'm going to let her say just a couple of words about herself.
Oh, hi, good evening. Once again, I'm
Please.
here. I'm back. I wasn't here. last
Yes, we
month.
miss you.
Yeah.
By the way, Agnes is a great singer. So just so you guys know, we're having a June networking coming up. And in June, we're going to have a whole room. And she has promised. She said, Steve, you got to get me one of these what do they call those? Yeah, the boom box. So I've already ordered one from, it's coming. I want you guys to know, this gal can do definitely sing. So if you're not coming for the network, make sure you're coming for her.
You've seen me.
Yes,
Good singing.
but yeah, that's, by the way, that's one of her talents. She has many talents, of course.
No, I just want to thank you.
Of
Thank you,
course.
Steve. I just want to thank everyone. Again, I hope you enjoy the goodies tonight. There's something new that I brought today, the spring roll.
Yes,
It's a Filipino,
yes.
one of the more popular.
And who made those?
Not me.
Not you, exactly. Her husband actually is a good cook. And so he had, she,
Of the chicken pie last time.
awesome.
Yeah, he bought them. He made them. Anyway, yeah, thank you again for the speakers, the hosts, and for everyone for just coming here. It's always a very good time to meet familiar faces, meet new faces, and learn from where the speakers and those who are sharing with everyone. I'm a lender. I've been a lender for 21 years. So if there's anything that you need, just to give you an advice whether to go forward with a certain deal because you qualify for a loan or not, let me know so you avoid that. Whatever happened to our speaker, like the loan he wasn't sure if the loan would go through. I'm here to do a pre-approval, to evaluate your deal and tell you if it's a go or no go, so that even before you open escrow, you know where the funds are
Yeah.
gonna come from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And let's give this young man a spot here. Let's give him okay, let's give it a hand for Steve.
All right. My name is Max Gator. I'm a New York life agent. Who here needs life insurance?
Yeah.
There we go. He's already my client though. So my friends are my clients are my friends. If anybody wants a friend or wants to be my client, let me know. I will go out to lunch. You can listen to my bad jokes. I might seem goofy, but I'm still very good at my job. And I'm very tired right now. So if anybody wants to randomly listen to me talk, just let me know. If anybody needs life insurance, let me know. If anybody needs financial guidance, let me know. New York Life is a full service institution. We'll review all your retirement plans, your IRAs, 401ks, your brokerage accounts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we are very good at our job. And I actually would like to point out the leadership program. As the person that's always on the fly on the wall, basically here hosting it, I see a lot of trillion-dollar training echoed in these things. Like I really am trained by one of the largest companies in the country, let alone the world. Yeah, these guys take a lot of very high income concepts, training modules, and implement it in the leadership program. I literally tuned in during their programs, interrupted to be like, hey guys, you're actually what you're listening to. I hear all the time from my management, from my training mentors, everybody here at the office has repeated what Steve's actually explained in our seminars or in our leadership program. So if anybody is actually interested, full endorsement from myself.
Thank you very much.
I've been here many times, seen it all.
Thank you so much. Awesome. We're gonna break up into groups and some of you guys know how that is. So we're gonna, Andy, you wanna come up for a second, please? So the way Andy's gonna do is he's gonna assign you to a particular group and what we talk about what is it that you do, who you are, and you definitely want to make sure you change business card. Andy's gonna break you up into the other room and go for it, Andy.
Yeah, so real quick, the people that I had numbered 1 through 7, can we go into the other room? And kind of like set yourself up 1 through 7, so I don't pick you. And then just like what Steve said, the neatest thing about this whole thing is we're gonna network. Make sure you have your cards, give them out, and tell a little bit about yourself. And the neatest thing, one of the neatest things you want to tell is how you can help everybody else out. Okay, how you can help everybody out. That's kind of like human nature. If you can help somebody else out, a lot of times you don't listen to the way people, oh, this is what I want to get out of this. But if you can help other people out, that's what you want. So if you can think of something, how you can help everybody out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is Number 1 through 7, okay? So if you can start out, you're gonna have to look at me so you can say your numbers. Because, there you go. So you're gonna say, number 1, 2,
3,
4,
5, 6,
then 1,
1, 2, 3,
4,
5.
6. Then we'll go, you can be 7,
Sure.
okay? Then 1, 2, 3, 5, 6,
He's in remedial.
7.
1, 2,
3.
4, 5,
And we'll go to the back.
6,
6, 7, 2, 3. Then we'll go all the way to the back.
4,
5 and 6 and 7 and then 1, 2. Did I get everybody? Oh, I missed you guys. Sorry. And what did I? 3. 3.
Okay.
3, 4, 5. Okay. So what we're gonna do this for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we'll all get together and you can mingle. But the first thing we're gonna do is get together for the first 15 minutes, get in your groups, say something. And the group leaders, they'll have their little number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you go to your groups.
And we'll get complete at 10. Okay, please. And we want you out of here at 10 o'clock. You're welcome to go downstairs.